My name is Treg Hatcher. I'm a rancher from Syracuse, Kansas. I own a 9,500 acre ranch. We run 400 cows year round. I have been ranching all my life. I have 3 boys. One's a farmer, the other one owns a feed store, and the other one works for a local farmer here in town. From like 2003 to 2009, we were in a drought, a terrible, terrible drought.
At that point, we knew that we had to do something. It was drastic measures now. I had actually been working with somebody else that had a bunch of cows, and he was overgrazing everything, and I was like, there's gotta be a reason.
In 2010, we almost sold the ranch. I mean, we was at the point where that was the only way out.
When we decided not to sell it, let's figure out what we can do and see where we need to go from here.
Treg came in the office, the NRCS office down here in Syracuse, and he was wanting some technical assistance from NRCS. Things were looking pretty bleak, and they'd been through a drought and had very bad prairie dog infestation.
Prairie dogs were bad. I mean, that was always the worst part. When you're driving up our county road and you look over to the left of us, and it was just a lot of prairie dog holes, a lot of dirt, and it wasn't the green grass and the stuff of my childhood.
There was local old ranch guys that would tell me if you ever got rid of the prairie dogs, it'd be good again, because where the holes are and stuff, that the grass would come back good.
We did a vegetative inventory of the ranch to see what was actually out there to get started on it, so that we could actually develop a grazing plan for future use. I did a forage allocation per field. I based the stalking rate based off of that, and then we factor in animal size, the timing of whether we got a cow-calf pair out there, whether we got just pregnant cows. We put exclosure cages up out there to look at production on each field so that we know how much forage we did actually produce based off of the inventory that we did do. Basically, at the end of the grazing season, we go out and clip those things and look at production and compare that to what we actually had in the grazing plan, and see how we did from the inventory standpoint and adjust accordingly. So it was enrolled in the Lesser Prairie Chicken Initiative through EQIP. It was one of NRCS's cost share programs. We did all the acres on the ranch, and I believe there's about 9,500 acres out there, and we did all but a section of it. And the reason we didn't enroll that was the drought contingency plan. That's part of the planning process. In a grazing plan, we need to have a drought contingency plan, a good forage database to figure out how much forage is out there and production-wise, and then, just is your animal size and numbers that you're putting out there and timing.
Some people had told me about EQIP. They told me all the stuff I needed to do and how to take care of it.
You have to go in there and you have to have kind of a plan in action, and then you have to work with them to figure out to get in the right lane with each other. If you go in there and you have at least a good plan and you're willing to work with them, they're gonna get things done for you.
It wasn't somebody just coming in trying to tell us what to do. There was science behind it.
We need to start with that conservation planning process up front with them and not worry about what program or where we're going with the money. We got to see what we got out there. The resource that's out on hand on the land needs to be assessed first, and then we go look for help for the problem that we have. Our stalking rates, or the forage inventory and the animal forage balance has to match, and that's what we're doing. They did implement rubber tire tanks out there for watering facilities. They drilled a well, installed some cross fences, and put in, I believe Treg said, 34,000 feet of pipeline, if I remember right.
All the years growing up, we had just 4 great big tanks. The South Pasture is 2,700 and some acres, and we had 2 tanks, one on the west side and one on the east side. And the cows they had to walk, and they never get to the grass that they need to get to. That's why we are putting tanks to make those cows go to places where there is grass. And that's what we want to do, is try to make pipelines across the ranch so that maybe we could even shorten these days up to 400 acres and get it where they utilize every part of the ranch. That's what you've got to do. You've got to utilize the whole part of your ranch to make it work.
Out in western Kansas, there's a water quality problem. It depends on where you're at and what aquifer you're pumping out of. But if we've got a steel rim concrete bottom tank, you'll get corrosion happening just because of the water quality, and the water's pretty scarce out here, so hell, you don't ever know where you're going to get it from. So the tire tanks are good from that standpoint, because they'll be here for the next 15 generations. I mean, I don't think a tornado will rip them out of there. They're used implement tires out of the coal mines. Wildlife escape ramps, those are in there in case you get some avian critter in there that gets down in the water, and that happens more than you really think, to be honest with you. David Shorter, the technician here in Syracuse, he designed all that stuff and did an excellent job out there and provided Treg and the boys with a lot of help in placement of the tanks. He did an excellent job and provided that through NRCS.
The rotational grazing helped a lot, made it better because it makes the grass come back.
When you balance life, when you balance the plants, the cattle's genetic ability and all that stuff, when it all comes together, you let nature run with what she knows what she's doing. Balance is key.
The main grass out here in the short grass prairie are buffalo and blue grama, 3-on, side oats, and sand drop seed. There was a ton of bare ground out there when we first started, and we had plenty of brood rearing habitat because of the open areas and the kochia and Russian thistle that was out there, but we didn't have any nesting habitat. That was our resource concern.
We run year round, so that means you're using the grass at different times so that certain species of grasses will come back. And people don't believe in that around here. They think that you go on in May and you come off in October. It just doesn't make anything better. You got to make it better.
We monitored, we put exclosure cages out there to look at production on an annual basis. And I came back out multiple times, and I was pretty harsh that first year on the stalking rate, and I adjusted it the next year.
In them 3 years on that ranch, we got 100 inches of rain, and that's never ever happened in anybody's lifetime.
We're extremely dry. I mean, I think our average rainfall is like 12 inches out here, and that's in a really good year. And so you start on the recovery process, it's gonna take some years. It ain't gonna happen overnight. It's just like when we started this thing with Treg, they've came a long ways, but there's a lot of progress to be done in the future based off of the conservation plan and the grazing system that they're actually implementing out there.
And Mother Nature, she'll take, and she might give you a little, but she's gonna take what she needs. So it's tough, but it's worth it at the end of the day.
This was just all grass back in the day. Buffalo ran across here, there was just grass and wildlife. There was nobody digging up dirt and trying to plant different things. It was all grass, and we had water, and we had all that stuff. I just encourage more people to let grass grow and even cover crop and do all that stuff,
One thing that I've learned, if you don't know, ask. And if someone wants to giggle at you for asking a question that maybe they thought was easy or they knew right away, it's okay, because I didn't know it yet, so let's learn it. Let's learn it and get better.
We manage it now, we rotational graze, we do everything that it takes to make it work. It's just been good ever since.